Peace to everybody. This is about Robin Williams. 5 years on. Deleted scenes reveal Mrs. Doubtfire was nearly too heartbreaking for families. And of course, here's the video of a deleted scene, but I will not play it. And I've already watched it in private. And it's in a way heartbreaking, really. And of course, 5 years ago today, Robin Williams has passed away by committing suicide on himself. Two scenes didn't find their way into family comedy, Mrs. Doubtfire, because they were too heartbreaking for families. So there was two scenes that never made their way into the family comedy. So there was it was just like too heartbreaking, and of course the families, it would have been hard on the families. The film, which stars Robin Williams, who died 5 years ago today, follows Daniel Hillard, a divorced actor who disguises himself as the titular housekeeper in order to spend time with his children in custody of his ex-wife. Yes, so Robin Williams has died 5 years ago today. He played the part of Daniel Hillard. Sally Field also played Mrs. Hillard. And they were divorced. And of course, a divorced actor who disguises himself as the titular housekeeper. So he dressed up as a woman. It was the only way he could see his kids every day, because the kids were in the custody of his ex-wife. While it has its fair share of emotional scenes, Mrs. Doubtfire is primarily remembered for being a light-hearted entertainment led superbly by the brilliant Williams and director Chris Columbus. The Home Alone, the first two Harry Potter films. Yeah, so Chris Columbus and Robin Williams did a wonderful job. They did it superbly by the brilliant Williams and director Chris Columbus, and they did this film so wonderfully. And of course, as you know, Mrs. Doubtfire is always going to be forever in everybody's hearts. This very nearly wasn't the case, as these two deleted scenes show, and of course, of course not. One clip shows their daughter, Lydia, participating in a spelling bee before being distracted by her parents bickering in the crowd. So Lydia was participating in a spelling bee before the parents got to bickering and everything in a crowd. Of course, they never showed it in a movie because, they just deleted out scenes that we'd never seen before. So, and it's like, okay, what happened? Why isn't they showing that part? Outside, she wonders why her parents can't just pretend to love each other. And of course, Lydia is hurt by it because she wonders why the parents can't pretend to love each other. And of course, it's hard when your parents are going to go through a divorce. Kids are being affected by it, and it takes a toll on them. And of course, here's Robin Williams as Mrs. Doubtfire, and I do believe Robin Williams was wonderful. The following scene shows the fallout from Sally realizing Daniel is in fact Mrs. Doubtfire. While this is a realization that horrifies her in the finished film, this deleted footage depicts an extremely brutal argument between parents through the eyes of their children. So the parents are still bickering over this, and of course, Mrs. Dillard realized that her ex-husband Daniel was Mrs. Doubtfire, and it did horrify her in the finished film. Depicts an extremely brutal argument between parents through the eyes of their children, but the children are not supposed to see any of this. The children don't need to see any of it. And this is why children are oftenly getting in the middle of everything when they shouldn't be. It's generally tough to watch and could potentially hit extremely close to home for some. And yeah, it does hit close to home for some because children have to see all this fights between the parents, this and that, and the parents just don't know when to stop. And of course, the children have to are always thrown under the bus. Oh, well, your child did this, your child did that. Yeah, stop making excuses for yourself and stop throwing children under the bus because they have nothing of what's going on between the parents. And it's just really sad. And of course, here are the two footages of the deleted scenes. Of course, I won't play them because I'll play them in private. Sure, the classic moments would have remained hilarious if these scenes had found their way into the finished film, but it's difficult to imagine laughing quite so hard had they been there. Yes, so, I mean, has its hilarious moments, of course, but the scenes had found their way into the finished film if they had to, but it's difficult to imagine laughing quite so hard had they been there, but of course they wasn't there. But I mean, they just take out parts of the film here and there, and of course they don't want you to see what is really going on. So, and just stop throwing your children under the bus, please, because they have nothing what is going on between you and that other person. Children don't need to be in the middle of nothing. Leave them out of it. Please. Leave your comments below. I am out.